Disclaimer: this is just my personal opinion and doesn't represent advice of any form. Have you ever walked into an office, a building, or even a whole district in Singapore and felt that something about the place just works? Not because you can immediately explain it, not because someone gave you a scientific report, but because the place somehow feels calmer, sharper, clearer, more confident, and more ready to produce results than other places that are technically just as expensive, because that is really where this whole conversation begins. It does not begin with superstition. It does not begin with mystical smoke floating around the skyline. It begins with a simple observation that most people have had, but few people stop to examine properly. Some spaces support human performance, and some spaces quietly interfere with it. Now let me ask you two straight questions before we go further. If the way you position your desk, arrange your office, or shape a building changes how people feel, think, behave, and decide, does it really matter whether the explanation is called feng shui or environmental psychology? And if entire developments in Singapore seem designed in ways that strengthen confidence, attract money, and create a sense of flow and order, are we really looking at random architectural coincidence, or are we looking at a place where symbolic design and practical results have been working together for much longer than people admit? Now let's reset the frame properly. In most cities, if you told people the shape of a development, the direction of a building, and the arrangement of desks might affect wealth, confidence, and how opportunity flows, they would probably smile politely and back away. But in Singapore, this kind of thinking has never been completely separate from how people actually build, buy, work, and invest. That matters, because Singapore is one of the most practical societies in the world. It is not known for wasting time on things that produce no result. The whole country was built on disciplined planning and measurable outcomes. So when a place like that continues to make room, openly or quietly, for feng shui in offices, homes, and major landmarks, you have to ask a more intelligent question than, is this superstition? The better question is this: what exactly do people think is happening when they say feng shui is working? Let's begin at the smallest level, because this is where a lot of people unknowingly experience feng shui without ever calling it that. The office desk. This seems tiny, but it is not. Where your desk sits affects what your body is doing all day, whether you are conscious of it or not. If your back is fully exposed to the entrance, if you cannot see who is coming, your body registers that. Your nervous system knows it. It knows whether you are anchored or exposed. This is exactly why the commanding position has survived for so long in feng shui. The principle is simple. Your desk should let you see the entrance, and ideally, you should have a solid wall behind you. Believers will say this protects your qi and puts you in a stronger position to receive opportunity. Skeptics may roll their eyes at that language, but then say almost the same thing using different words. They'll talk about perceived control, situational awareness, and an increased sense of security. Notice what just happened there. The language changed. The logic did not. Human beings simply perform differently when they feel supported and when the environment tells them they are in a position of awareness rather than vulnerability. Now let's widen the scale from one desk to a whole office. People can feel when a space fights them. That is why clutter matters more than people admit. Not because clutter is morally bad, but because clutter attracts attention. It creates friction. Feng Shui says clutter blocks energy. Modern psychology says clutter increases cognitive load. Again, the language changes, but the observation is basically the... Now let's move from the office to the city, because this is where Singapore becomes genuinely fascinating. The city does not feel random. It feels arranged, deliberate. People look at major landmarks and do not just see buildings. They see symbolic gestures and directional law. Take Suntec City. Officially, it is a major commercial complex from the 1990s. But once the feng shui story enters, people no longer see only towers and a fountain. They see a giant hand rising from the earth, with the fountain of wealth sitting in its palm, holding prosperity at the... Whether that was the literal intention is almost secondary to the fact that people believe it so strongly. Once enough people believe a place holds wealth, the story becomes part of the commercial reality. Then you have Marina Bay Sands. Officially, it is one of the most powerful pieces of branding and urban development Singapore has ever produced. It transformed the skyline and became an international icon. But then the feng shui layer enters, and people begin talking about guardians, wealth gates, and capture flow. The skeptic will say, this is just a story. Fine, but story itself has force. And in Singapore, symbolic power sits right next to financial power. Or the integrated resort delivered a record-breaking adjusted profit of over $811 million in the first quarter of 2024. Now, let's make this even more interesting by talking about the Singapore Flyer. The legend that the flyer originally rotated the wrong way, symbolically sending fortune out instead of drawing it in, is famous precisely because it feels so Singaporean. It turns a technical adjustment into an energetic correction. Officially, it is an observation wheel. Unofficially, it becomes a machine for directional wealth movement. And then, of course, there's the $1 coin story. The legend that the octagonal form on the coin served as a national bagua protection during MRT construction is one of those stories that is too elegant to die. It suggests leadership that is practical enough to modernize and subtle enough to protect. Whether literally true or not, it survives because it flatters the larger belief that Singapore thinks of everything. Step back and ask yourself what all these stories have. They all connect prosperity with arrangement. They all connect success with flow. They all assume that design is not neutral. And this is where modern science and feng shui stop being enemies and start becoming reluctant cousins. Modern science does not validate qi as some measurable substance. But modern science does tell us that design affects stress, safety, focus, and behavior. It tells us that a person who can see the room entrance feels more secure. It tells us public space design affects how people gather and feel. So if feng shui says an arrangement supports prosperity and modern design science says that same arrangement improves confidence and clarity, then the real issue is not who wins the argument. The real issue is that both may be describing different layers of the same human experience. So are Singapore's feng shui office and city designs actually working? Yes, but not in the simplistic way believers say, and not in the dismissive way skeptics assume. At the office level, feng shui often works because good placement creates better psychology. At the city level, it often works because symbolic design shapes confidence, identity, and economic behavior. At the market level, it works because enough people believe it matters. And once belief enters a pricing system, it becomes economically real. And at the cultural level, it works because it gives people a language to talk about something deeply human. That space affects us even when we do not fully understand how. That is the real answer. Singapore did not become rich because somebody placed one fountain in the right spot. Let's stay serious. But nor did it become what it is through cold rationality alone, untouched by symbolism, placement, and the deep Asian instinct that environment and fortune are not completely separate. The truth is more interesting than either extreme. The truth is that in Singapore, ancient spatial wisdom and modern performance logic often landed in the same place. And maybe that is why the city feels the way it does. Not only planned, not only prosperous, but strangely, deliberately aligned. If this gave you a new way to think about Singapore, feng shui, offices, and city design, let us know in the comments. And for more deep dives into the hidden forces that shape our world, subscribe to the channel. Disclaimer, this is just my personal opinion and doesn't represent advice of any